You ever get that weird feeling when an ad pops up for something you were just thinking about? It's not magic, and it's definitely not a coincidence. It's all about companies analyzing just massive amounts of data. So let's pull back the curtain and see how they do it, what tools they're using, and maybe uncover some of the, well, unsettling secrets that data can reveal. So for a long, long time, businesses had this huge problem with their most valuable asset, their own data. The issue was that all this precious information was basically trapped in these little isolated pockets. You could almost call them data islands. So yeah, picture a company's data like this chain of islands, right? You've got the finance department on one island, HR on another, the sales team way over on a third one, and so on. Each island has super valuable treasure, information. But here's the catch. None of the islands are connected. So trying to see the big picture? Almost impossible. So, what do you do when you have a bunch of valuable islands? You build a bridge. Or, in the world of data, you build a data warehouse. This was the go-to solution for decades, a way to finally connect all those islands and bring all that data into one central place. A data warehouse is, well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's one giant organized place to store everything. The whole point is to get all your data under one roof so you can finally search it, analyze it, and spot those key trends that help you make smarter business decisions. Okay, but, putting all your eggs in one basket, it sounds risky, right? And it is. If that one single warehouse goes down for any reason, poof, nobody gets any data. And from a security angle, whoa. If a hacker manages to break into that one central system, they don't just get a little bit of data, they get the whole thing. Plus, trying to manage who gets to see what inside this giant vault, that gets really complicated really fast. Data warehouses were the king for years. But then, the internet happened, and the amount of data in the world just exploded. A bigger, faster approach was needed. And that's when we entered the era of big data. So what's the big deal about big data? What makes it so different? Well, it really boils down to what folks call the 3 V's. First up is variety. A data warehouse loves nice, neat tables. Big data? It doesn't care. It'll take anything. Text files, documents, images, you name it. Then there's volume. We're talking about data sets so ridiculously huge, they have to be spread out across tons of different computers. And finally, velocity. This is all about the mind-blowing speed at which data can be pulled in and analyzed, like almost in real time. If you want to wrap your head around volume, just think about Google for a second. When they decided they were going to index the entire internet, can you even imagine how big that data set was? It was so big they had to invent totally new technology, like Hadoop, just to be able to store it and search it. That right there, that's a classic big data problem. So let's just break it down side by side. A data warehouse, it's great with structure tables, lives on a single system, and it's pretty fast. Big data, on the other hand, handles any kind of data, is spread across a whole fleet of systems, and operates at speeds that are just crazy fast. It's a whole new ballgame in terms of scale and what's possible. Okay, so we've got all this data packed into these super powerful systems. But here's the thing. Just storing data isn't the point. The real reason, the thing that companies are willing to spend billions on, is finding hidden knowledge. And they do that through something called inference. All right, this is a really important distinction to get. You have aggregation and you have inference. Aggregation is pretty straightforward. It's just collecting all the data, putting it in a pile for analysis. It tells you what you have. But inference is where the real magic happens. It's about looking at all that data and figuring out something new, something that wasn't explicitly stated anywhere. It's like being a detective and finding the hidden story between the lines of data. And that right there is the heart of what we're talking about today. This power to infer new knowledge is the key that unlocks unbelievable value from data. But, and this is a huge but, that same key can also unlock some pretty serious and very real risks. So, let's dive into what happens when this data analysis maybe goes a little too far, when the patterns it uncovers start revealing things that were probably meant to stay private. This brings us to a case study that's become pretty famous and, frankly, a little creepy. It all boils down to this one question. How on earth could a retail store figure something like this out before her own dad? Well, the answer was data inference. The store's analysts looked at what she'd been buying recently,
things like unscented lotion and certain vitamin supplements. By comparing her shopping habits to millions of other customers, their algorithms inferred a high probability that she was pregnant, so they started mailing her coupons for baby stuff, which, as you can imagine, really shocked her family.
Now, here's the wild part. After this story blew up in the news, you'd think the company would stop, right? Nope. They just got sneakier about it. Now they'll still send you those baby coupons, but they'll mix them in with totally random stuff, like coupons for a lawnmower or wine glasses, just to make the targeting feel less obvious. And this risk isn't just about personal privacy. It can have huge legal and financial consequences. Think about a big bank. You've got one team that trades stocks and another totally separate team that handles top secret mergers and acquisitions, or M&A. Now, if the stock traders could get their hands on certain data and analyze it, they might be able to infer which companies are about to be bought. That's a huge no-no. It's called illegal insider trading, and banks have to build massive digital walls to stop it from happening. So this all leads to a critical question. With all this potential for things to go wrong, how do companies actually manage the risk? Are there ways to stop data from spilling secrets it shouldn't? The short answer is yes, but it gets pretty technical. One of these methods has a wild name, polyinstantiation. Basically, it's a clever security trick that lets different versions of the same data exist for people with different security clearances. This makes it way harder for someone with low-level access to piece together clues and infer a high-level secret. At the end of the day, data inference really is a powerful double-edged sword. On one hand, it helps companies build amazing new things and understand their customers better than ever before. But on the other hand, it can expose our deepest secrets and create some really thorny ethical problems. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As you go about your day, clicking, shopping, sharing, it's worth taking a second to ask yourself, what story is your data telling about you? What secrets could someone out there infer from the digital trail you leave behind?